All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy in Chief David Reimer. It is out of focus. Try that, try that. Come on. Hi. Focus. Hi. Big bald head here. Focus on that. Come on. Whatever. It'll do what it wants to do. Anyway, good evening. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy in Chief David Reimer. It is the 2nd of February, 2022. The Groundhog Day winter storm, at least we have a name for it, is beginning and already underway across several regions of Texas this evening, and it'll continue ramping up as we head into tonight and into tomorrow. Now, the purpose of this video is to be a little more informal. First off, we're going to go through the watches and warnings for what's underway now, tonight, and tomorrow. Then we'll look in more detail what's going on right now, what we expect over the next few hours, and then finally what we expect for tomorrow night into Friday, and when all of this is going to finally be out of here and when we're going to warm back up. So with that being said, let's go ahead and head on over to the current National Weather Service advisories, watches, and warnings. Now, this is going to be a graphic that has all sorts of colors, and you know what, we actually haven't really shown this very much over the last few days. We've mostly been based off a impact sort of standpoint. We're like northern half of Texas, expect hazardous roads tonight, tomorrow, starting to get better on Friday. But this is actually the current National Weather Service product map. Now, you won't be able to really see it on this graphic, but there is a little bit of an orange shade there in far west Texas over the Guadalupe Mountains. That is a blizzard warning. Blizzard conditions occurring on the higher elevations of the Guadalupe Mountains. We could have winds gusting over 75 miles an hour along with heavy snow. So there you go, a little bit of a blizzard in far west Texas. But for a majority of the state, the pink shades and purple shades, those are winter weather warnings and advisories. Essentially, if you're in purple, you could have accumulating sleet, freezing rain, snow. If you're in the pink, you could have a lot of accumulating freezing rain, sleet, and snow. Both colors indicate hazardous travel conditions are likely. It just means those in the pink are probably going to have a bit more in terms of accumulations. But frankly, like we've been doing for the last few days, I'm not really too worried about how much stuff is going to be falling out of the sky. I just want to focus on the impacts and the timing. So yeah, we have a little bit of a blue shaded region there in South Texas. That's a freeze warning. That's just to signify we're going to have a freeze Friday morning and Saturday morning. A couple notes with this. You'll see that the purple areas, the winter weather advisories, or I kind of call them travel advisories, essentially run north of a line now from Texarkana to Harris County, the Houston metro, to south of Bexar County, the San Antonio metro, over into the northern Edwards Plateau for Laredo. So everyone north of that, essentially, tonight and tomorrow, the potential for accumulating winter precipitation that could cause slick and hazardous roadways. Now, in terms of what we're concerned about for places like Houston, San Antonio, Laredo, you know, the southern edge of this, it's going to be more spotty. Bridges, overpasses, etc. that could ice up when temperatures fall below freezing, and we could have some winter precipitation. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the timing aspects. But for certain, we're expecting significant significant travel disruptions, which is in itself a hazard, across the northern half of Texas, including the Austin metro, San Angelo, the entirety of the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex, essentially Interstate 35, all the way from San Antonio to, honestly, I don't even know how far north this goes. I mean, obviously all 35 up through Oklahoma, but now I'm curious at how far this goes. Pretty much for all intents and purposes, Kansas City. So if you are 35 pretty much from the Mexico border all the way up to Kansas City, that's not going to work tonight, tomorrow, good chunk of Friday. Sorry. Winter storm warnings, again, pink shade region. So first off, before we dive into what we're expecting, let's go into what's going on. This is a live radar image over the last 2 hours across the state of Texas. You can see temperatures now falling into the single digits and lower teens across the Texas Panhandle. We're seeing a lull in snow intensities across the Panhandle. We're going to see another round of snow develop in a few hours, and overnight across West Texas and the Panhandle, that'll move east behind this first initial round of winter precipitation we have ongoing now. You can see we've got some scattered showers mixed in with freezing rain, sleet, and snow across far west Texas into the Trans-Pecos, the Permian Basin. We've got snow falling now in Midland, where the temperature is 27 degrees Fahrenheit. Snow flying across the big country up into northwest Texas, mixed with sleet, where temperatures are in the 20s, well below freezing. And now we have the freezing line encroaching on the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We're hearing icing reports now on elevated surfaces like tree branches, even some bridges, overpasses in places like Denton, Fort Worth, Plano, western and northern DFW. We haven't heard of any travel issues in the Metroplex yet, but I guarantee you that's going to change over the next 1 to 2 hours. And by midnight and thereafter, it's likely we're going to have sleet and ice-covered roadways across the entirety of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, resulting in hazardous, if not nearly impossible, travel conditions. I mean, if you want to example, the National Weather Service forecasters, their office in Fort Worth is off 820 and Beach on the north side of Fort Worth. They're pretty much camping out at the Weather Service office tonight and tomorrow. They're not planning on being able to leave the office or for folks to get there, so they've pretty much set up camp in the office itself with cots and supplies. So, you know, if the folks making the weather forecast don't expect to be able to actually leave or get to the office, it's probably a pretty good indication that most of the Metroplex is not going to be in good shape later tonight and tomorrow morning. So we'll zoom on into North Texas. And again, we'll zoom into several regions, not just North Texas. You know, we've been getting some flack today over some graphics that focus solely on North Texas. Those are Weather Service graphics, and each Weather Service office covers a geographical region. There are, I think, 13 offices that cover Texas, so if we post every graphic from every office on Facebook, Facebook's not going to show them to you, and we're going to get penalized for posting so many graphics, and then no one's going to see our stuff on Facebook, because Facebook's algorithm is more junky than going down to your fast food establishment and getting a 44-ounce soda and a big bucket of fries. So here's what we've got going on. You can see radar indicating some sleet and rain now across the Metroplex. Again, we need temperatures to fall to or below 32 degrees Fahrenheit in order for ice to start accumulating on elevated surfaces. And then we generally be looking for about 30 to 31 degrees for surface objects like roads, stuff near ground level. And you can definitely see we are now dropping pretty much to freezing in most of the Metroplex. Denton's been at freezing for a while. Fort Worth is down to 30 degrees. You can see we've now dropped to 32 degrees in Dallas, southwest Dallas, North Dallas, up into Collin County. So temperatures in the Metroplex now falling below freezing, and they're going to stay below freezing through Friday, maybe Saturday. So all this additional precipitation coming on in over the next 8 to 12 hours is going to be in the form of freezing rain, sleet, and then we'll probably have some snow tomorrow morning after colder air comes on in and we get rid of this warm nose, or a layer of warm air a few thousand feet above the surface. Farther south into the hill country in central Texas, you can see temperatures still in the mid to upper 30s, above freezing. So any precipitation that's been falling has been a cold rain, no icing. That's going to change overnight and Thursday morning as the freezing line across the Concho Valley and North Texas continues to push south. And we are expecting the potential for ice, if not the likelihood for ice, in Austin by the morning rush hour. Those of you in San Antonio, northern Bexar County, it could be maybe 8 a.m. or so. We could see the freezing line encroaching on the north sides of Bexar County. Hill Country is going to ice up overnight. Central Texas is going to ice up overnight. The northern Brazos Valley is going to ice up tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. Bryan College Station, y'all had a beautiful day. It got up in the 60s. Yeah, you're going to have ice at some point tomorrow. Happy birthday. So, now that we've taken a look at what's going on there, you can see southeast Texas. I mean, we were talking about on the advisory map, we could have some light icing in Houston and parts of the Houston metro tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. It was in the 70s in Houston this afternoon. Y'all are going like, what are you talking about? I mean, goodness gracious, it looks like it got up to 85 degrees in Beaumont this afternoon. I mean, that sounds pretty nice. I've got about 2 inches of blowing snow outside my window right now, so that's nice. And always goes to show you that Texas is a huge state. I think folks tend to forget sometimes that when we forecast for all 254 counties in the state of Texas, we're essentially dealing with the size of many European countries. So there's a variety of climates, subclimates, geographical regions, and different weather patterns and land masses. So you can see 7 degrees now northwest of Dalhart, Texas, in the northern panhandle, about 85 degrees this afternoon and early this evening in Beaumont. Beautiful evening for those folks. So, all right, let's go ahead and we're going to stop the super duper fancy radar. I am going to press a few buttons, and we're going to show you what our general expectation is over the next few hours in terms of temperatures and the change over to winter precipitation. So I need to change the upper third. That's the banner at the top of this graphic. That's going to get changed over to this. I had to press a couple different buttons. My apologies. You're going to see everything disappear off your screen. And we're going to load some weather model data. Now, this is going to be the 5 p.m. run of a high-resolution rapid refresh model. And we're going to take a look at 8 p.m. Central Time. And again, I just want to compare to how the radar is looking now to what this weather model is showing. Weather models, it doesn't matter how good they are or what weather model it is are never going to get everything 100% right. Some of them are very good, but not completely perfect. So when I'm showing you these weather model graphics over the next few minutes, I want you to understand that sometimes things are not going to be as clear cut as they may seem. So pinks, that's your winter mix, your freezing rain. That's going to be your sleet. And then the whites and blues, snow, and then greens, that's your rain. So this is 8 p.m. You can see the HER model, the high-resolution rapid refresh. We've got the freezing line, essentially from near Alpine to Ozona, Brady, extending towards Hamilton, maybe Gatesville, and then moving essentially through the entire DFW Metroplex below freezing. And then we've got winter precipitation, whether it be freezing rain, sleet, and then eventually snow a bit farther to the northwest. Now, in terms of the different winter weather hazards here, all of them, freezing rain, sleet, and snow, they will mess up roads, hazardous travel conditions, okay? That's uniform. Freezing rain is going to be an issue for trees and power lines especially because it will stick to those. If we get too much freezing rain or ice accumulations, we're going to start knocking trees down and knocking power lines down because the ice is very heavy. And we have gusty north winds up to 35 miles an hour, only adding to the weight load. So we don't want freezing rain. Sleet will stick pretty much to everything, but it will not really stick as well to the trees and the power lines. It won't knock those down, at least not as easily. It will, however, stick to roads and, do the whole cobblestone ice thing. But the roads are going to be messed up anyway. If we were going to do sleet versus freezing rain, we want sleet because the sleet's not going to knock out power to everybody if we get too much of it, generally speaking. And then snow, of course, it's snow. I mean, it's going to... we don't want freezing rain. That's what I'm trying to say here. So the fact that we've got some freezing rain reported right now in the Metroplex, west and north of the Metroplex, we want that to switch over to sleet as soon as possible so we can avoid having a devastating ice storm that knocks out power to hundreds of thousands of people. It knocks down all the trees the winter storm last year managed not to get. So that being said, let's fast forward to 10 p.m. Central Time. This is going to be 10 p.m. from the high-resolution rapid refresh model. You can see we've still got a winter mix from let's just go ahead and say just west of Paris to near Ennis and Hillsborough, southwest Tucson, Sabo, Llano, southeast of Junction, and now encroaching on the northern Edwards Plateau. You can see we've got snow falling now from El Paso in the borderland through Van Horn on Interstate 10, all the way down through Alpine, Fort Stockton. We've got a mix of winter precipitation across all of the big country, the Concho Valley, now coming into the western and northern hill country, and we've still got snow ongoing in northwest Texas. Note that we have additional snow developing in New Mexico that will move into the Panhandle, West Texas tomorrow morning. We've still got rain across East Texas, the Brazos Valley, Edwards Plateau, South Central Texas, Southeast Texas, and the coastal plains. That's a cold rain. Temperatures above freezing. Let's fast forward to 1 a.m. Thursday morning. So this is going to be 1 a.m. And you'll see that the high-resolution rapid refresh model has the freezing line moving southeast a little more quickly now, coming towards northern Bexar County. We're expecting freezing rain to be ongoing across all of the hill country. You can see the freezing line starting to come into Travis County. Central Texas, we've got freezing rain, a mix of winter precipitation in Waco. We've got moderate to heavy sleet in the DFW Metroplex, all the way up to near Paris, moving east of the Metroplex, and possibly a changeover from freezing rain and sleet to sleet and snow from near Sherman to Mineral Wells, Ballinger, Abilene, San Angelo, hopefully switching over to some snow to Ozana, and we've still got snow falling across the Davis Mountains, and that precipitation that's in New Mexico starting to move into West Texas and the Panhandle, essentially just making a giant blob of winter doom away from central New Mexico through the northwestern half of Texas, extending all the way up into Ontario, Canada. I mean, it's a big winter storm. So fast forward now to 4 a.m. We'll zoom back in onto the state of Texas. Let this data load. Here we go. You can see we've got freezing winter precipitation. This is essentially marks where the freezing line's going to be. And again, models are not perfect. And sometimes the freezing line's going to move a little faster than what the weather models think it's going to do. So we're going to have to give it a little buffer space. But essentially, freezing rain occurring north of a line from Del Rio, north side to Bexar County, New Braunfels, all the way up through Interstate 35. Likely have freezing rain in Austin by 4 a.m., coming into the northwestern Brazos Valley, Cameron, Mahia, Athens, west of Sulphur Springs to Paris. Starting to switch over from freezing rain, sleet, maybe some snow now in the Metroplex. And we've got snow still falling across the Concho Valley, the Big Country. Lighter snow in northwest Texas, snow in Texoma. Still have some snow across Oklahoma, and a round of comparatively lighter snow moving in to West Texas and the Panhandle from New Mexico. We also have snow still falling in the borderland. Okay, let's go to 7 a.m. Thursday. This is from the 6 p.m. run of the high-resolution rapid refresh model. We got snow across the Panhandle, West Texas, snow becoming more scattered across the Guadalupe and Davis Mountains into the Trans-Pecos. Looks like El Paso. Snow should be ending for y'all. We've got freezing rain, winter precipitation, sleet now moving essentially Del Rio, San Antonio, Austin, coming into Bryan College Station, to Palestine, Sulphur Springs, just west of Tyler, just west of Clarksville. We still have light, moderate, locally heavy winter precipitation, probably sleet or snow now, across North Texas, Sherman, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, Wichita Falls, Brownwood, Stephenville, Abilene, and San Angelo might be starting to dry out. We're getting a bit of a dry slot here. This is what we call a dry slot, by the way. Notice how the winter precipitation is kind of being eroded here. That's kind of a dry slot. I'm not going to go into the meteorological details of that, but essentially, we're still going to have a mess ongoing at 7 a.m. with accumulating winter precipitation. Fast forward to 10 a.m. Thursday morning, tomorrow, 10 a.m. from the HER model. We'll let this load. You can see starting to clear out a bit as the precipitation starting to end from west to east. We've got still some snow showers across the Permian Basin, the Concho Valley. We've got snow falling across the Texas Panhandle, the Oklahoma Panhandle, northwest Texas, extending southeast through Texoma. We've still got snow falling in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex up to Paris. We've got winter precipitation, whether it be freezing rain, sleet, maybe a bit of snow, all three mixed in. A winter trifecta of horrific winterness. From Mineola to, well, let's just say Bryan College Station, San Antonio to Uvalde and Del Rio. Now, according to this model, see, we're kind of going to be having one of these little issues where northern Bexar County, northern half of the San Antonio metro may be getting some winter precipitation ice that's messing up bridges and overpasses and maybe some roads, while the southern half of the county may be just above freezing and may just have a cold rain. This is a dangerous game trying to nitpick that in terms of miles with a weather model. So just understand, parts of San Antonio are going to be slick and hazardous tomorrow morning. Austin, there's no question. Y'all are getting an ice storm. Y'all are going to be cold. You're going to have a lot of ice. The potential for accumulating ice across all of the hill country tonight into north central Texas, the western and northern Brazos Valley, and then the potential for some sleet and snow across, well, northwest half of Texas. So let me go ahead. I'm going to switch to a different run of this weather model. So give me just a second because I want to show you farther out. Now this is off the 12 p.m. run of the high resolution rapid refresh model, but it shouldn't look all that different to compared to what we're expecting. But understand, I'm just trying to show you a bit longer range. Snow starting to end across North Texas, at least a dry slot coming in. Second round of snow across the northern Texas panhandle, starting to move into northwest Oklahoma down to central Oklahoma. You could see as the surface freezing line continues moving south and southeast tomorrow morning into early tomorrow afternoon, we could have a wintry mix of freezing rain and sleet across portions of south central Texas and the Brazos Valley. This pink you're seeing are areas of freezing rain and sleet at 1 p.m. tomorrow, and you can see if this particular model run is right, all of the San Antonio metro is going to get some ice on elevated objects late tomorrow morning, early tomorrow afternoon. Same thing goes for most of the Brazos Valley. We have rain changing over to winter precipitation across East Texas, Northeast Texas, and still a couple of snow showers across the Trans-Pecos, Permian Basin, Davis, and Guadalupe Mountains. We'll fast forward to 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. You can see still a couple of winter precipitation showers. Technically, the term would be snow or sleet showers across North Texas. Second round of snow across central Oklahoma. Still some pockets of snow across the southern Permian Basin into the western Concho Valley. Still some freezing rain, winter precipitation across south central Texas. Same thing for the Brazos Valley. Now, here's something we weren't talking about the other day, but we are talking about now. You kind of see how this is starting to trend towards the Houston metro tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. Here's the issue. This precipitation may not exit in time before temperatures fall below freezing. So if that happens, we're going to see rain change over to light freezing rain, maybe some sleet across, well, the coastal plains up into southeast Texas. You can see this particular model shows a winter mix in Victoria, up Highway 59, pretty much into the Houston metro. Still some light freezing rain, sleet across North Texas. Fast forward to 10 p.m. And I believe the appropriate words would be, you can see this particular model has light freezing rain from the Houston metro southwest, pretty much almost to the coast, Gulf Coast and the coastal plains, Bay City, Victoria, Beeville, just north of Corpus Christi, and still some light snow showers or maybe some freezing drizzle across east or north Texas, northeast Texas, with the snow up in northern Oklahoma moving northeast. This is going to be the conclusion phase of this event, but if temperatures fall quickly enough and get below freezing before this precipitation along the coast moves out, we could have a winter mix along the Texas coast tomorrow evening. In fact, you can see it here. This weather model still has precipitation falling at 1 a.m. Friday. The potential for rain to mix with or change over to freezing rain and sleet across South Texas, the coastal bend, and the coastal plains of southeast Texas. Now, again, we're getting towards the outer range of this particular weather model Friday morning. But I just want to kind of bring a heads up that this is scenarios starting to gain some traction, pardon the pun, and we could still be dealing with some winter precipitation across South Texas, the coastal bend, the coastal plains, and southeast Texas tomorrow evening into Friday morning. Go to 4 a.m. This is going to be at 4 a.m. Friday. You can see we've got light freezing rain, maybe some light sleet across the Houston metro, southeast Texas, all the way down to the coast, Lake Jackson, just northwest of Galveston, all the way southwest down 59 through Victoria to Beeville, Corpus Christi, almost to Laredo. Fast forward, this is 7 a.m. Friday. You can see it's still falling. Now, I don't think this would be particularly heavy, but it doesn't take a lot of freezing rain to turn elevated objects or exposed objects into ice. And this could be a problem Friday morning. To the extent of what we're going to see up in North Texas, the hill country, Central Texas tonight, no. This would generally be light icing amounts of a few hundredths of an inch, but that would still be more than enough, especially as temperatures fall into the 20s, to ice all the bridges, all the roads, etc. So, especially the elevated roads, bridges, overpasses. We'll fast forward. This is 10 a.m. Friday. You can see finally starting to get precipitation ending, move it off the coast. Still a little bit of light freezing rain in the coastal plains up towards, Galveston. Maybe even a little winter precipitation mixing in, sleet mixing in with rain, and the Golden Triangle, Beaumont, Port Arthur. So, and I mean, this model still has some freezing drizzle in East Texas at 10 a.m. Friday. So, as you can see, again, this is not a February 2021. Let's make this abundantly clear. We're not going to have a big snowpack all the way from northern Mexico through the entire state of Texas. But at the same time, I can't help but recognize the similarities to this being a almost statewide winter storm again. To the extent of last year, no. First off, temperatures are going to be rising above freezing by Saturday during the day. By next week, we're going to be back in the 60s and 70s across Texas. But in terms of the next 2 to 3 days, we're going to have sleet, we're going to have snow, we're going to have freezing rain. So okay, so we'll deal with it. All right, so now that we took a detailed look at all that, and those of you still watching this almost 30 minutes in, first off, I'm sorry. I did say this would be kind of informal. Let's take a look at the projected possibilities for ice and snow accumulation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the upper banner again. I'm going to look at the snow accumulations first. And this is just going to be a product directly from, I believe this is off the Weather Prediction Center. This is a probabilistic percentile. Essentially, I'm going to be able to show you the expected amount. That's the 50th percentile. I can show you the bust amount, which would be the 10th percentile. And I can show you the boom amount, which would be the worst or the reasonable worst case scenario in terms of how high things could go. So first off, let's go ahead and start with the 50th percentile. This is essentially from 6 p.m. this evening through the end of this winter storm. This is additional snowfall amounts. That being said, this also does include sleet totals, so that's mainly applicable for North Texas, the Metroplex. This includes sleet and snow. We could have a couple inches of sleet in the Metroplex. So that being said, here you go. Here's your sleet and snow totals. Generally speaking, expecting additional snows of 1 to 5 inches across the northwest half of Texas tonight, tomorrow, and then generally fading out tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. We could see 4 to 6 inches in northwest Texas. We could see 2 to 5 inches in the Panhandle, 1 to 4, maybe 5 inches in West Texas. Bit heavier down in the Trans-Pecos. Definitely heavier in the higher elevations of the Guadalupe Mountains. And then you can kind of see the Davis Mountains acting as a barrier, preventing the moisture from moving further south. And then we could see 1 to 2 inches of snow in the borderland around El Paso. Okay, that is the expected amount. This is the bust amount. If we ended up having far less than expected, this is the general expectation of what it be. We could see another 2 inches of snow in northwest Texas, a dusting of sleet and snow in North Texas with the potential for 1 to 2 inches down in the Guadalupe Mountains, Trans-Pecos. Same thing for the Panhandle. This is the bust amount, or if we end up having far less snow than expected. I'm going to show you the boom amount. This is the reasonable worst case scenario. This is unlikely to happen, but this is the, if we went super duper crazy and snow lovers all decided to sit in a circle and sing Kumbaya, and the snow weenies got exactly what they wanted, and that was a crazy amount of snow. This is the reasonable worst case scenario. All right? An additional 6, 8, 9 inches of snow in North Texas. We could see several inches of sleet and snow in North Texas, generally 3 to 6 inches. Could see an additional, 1 to 6 inches of snow across all of West Texas, the Panhandle, the Big Country, the Concho Valley, etc. We could even see a little bit of snow down in the Hill Country, okay? This is the worst case scenario in terms of, reasonable worst case scenario if we ended up going on the very high side of the potential forecast, okay? But this is what we're expecting. This is the 50th percentile, balances the low end, the high end. You got your blend. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing for ice forecasting. So let me switch the banner over to ice. And this is the projected amount of ice expected over the next 2 days. Now, I'm going to actually use the 25th percentile here, because generally speaking, that's kind of how ice works. We usually go towards the lower end of the scale just because of how different accretion processes work. But again, this is definitely has the potential to be a major ice storm across North Texas, Central Texas, the Hill Country, with lesser amounts of ice but still impactful to travel across the Brazos Valley, South Central Texas, East Texas, and we're even talking now about Southeast Texas for a glaze of ice. Now let me be clear. If for some reason we do end up having 1/4 of an inch to 1 inch of freezing rain accumulation in any of these areas, that will be enough to bring trees down, and that will bring power lines down. I'm not talking about power outages from grid load issues. We don't go into that. That's a news issue. That is not our department. I'm just talking about the potential for power outages from ice knocking stuff down. This would be a problem. If we end up, for some reason, changing over to snow early or sleet early, this would be the low-end potential. And again, you can still see low-end potential, still quite a significant ice storm across portions of the Hill Country up in the North Texas. And, if you want to see the worst-case scenario, this would be the worst-case scenario. And let me tell you, if this happened, this would be catastrophic. But again, this is the reasonable worst-case scenario where you see, in terms of the reasonable worst case, you see we could have an ice storm all the way down to the Texas coast. Again, that is not what we expect to happen. This is the general expectation and the forecast the Weather Service is going with and what we're going with. But again, over the northern 2/3 of Texas, this is what we're expecting. If you're in the purple, you're in the pink, or somehow you're in the little orange slab over far west Texas over the Guadalupe Mountains, which is a blizzard warning, expect hazardous travel conditions, if they're not already underway, to develop tonight or sometime tomorrow morning. Expect those travel conditions to remain poor through Friday. Might improve for some folks Friday afternoon, but where we have a lot of snow or a lot of ice, I don't expect conditions to improve much until Saturday, when high temperatures finally rise above freezing. And overnight low temperatures will drop into the single digits and teens every night until we get rid of the snow cover and ice pack. By tomorrow morning, temperatures in the Texas Panhandle will Friday morning, temperatures in the Panhandle will likely be a few degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. So yes, it's going to be quite cold. The wind chills are definitely not pleasant. But we're not talking about 2021 cold here, where we had low temperatures ranging from 30 to 40 degrees below 0 in the Texas Panhandle down into like -10 in Lufkin. We're not getting that cold, but it's going to be cold. And mind you, this is a major winter storm that does, frankly, cover a majority of Texas, which is certainly ironic to me, since we just did something like this last year, but to a lesser extent this year. Some folks are going to see more impacts this time than they did last year. For example, the ice storm potential from the hill country, central Texas, up through North Texas. If we end up having all that freezing rain, the power outages are going to be probably worse in terms of the infrastructure damage than what we saw last year. Last year was more of a load event. We had a lot of folks without power because the generators, all that. Again, that's a different department. I'm talking about ice actually physically damaging the power equipment and knocking power lines down. That's going to be a big problem if we get over a quarter to half inch of freezing rain. If we get a lot of sleet, that will act that we're going to have a cobblestone ice event like December 2013 in North Texas, but that's not as likely to cause significant infrastructure damage. So with all that being said, we'll head back over to the real-time radar. Let me set it up. And again, y'all can keep an eye on the radar whenever you want using our free interactive weather radar on our website at texasstormchasers.com or in our free mobile app. And we've actually been streaming live radar on our social media channels for the last several hours, and we'll continue to do so through tomorrow. But let me turn all this back on. We'll hit the radar and get that loaded with surface temperatures. You can see we've got a winter mix now in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. That'll continue over the, well, next 12 to 18 hours. We've got precipitation south of the freezing line, but all this is going to be moving east. Freezing line's going to be moving south. And you can see a second round of sorts already starting to develop back in New Mexico that'll move east. So this is just the incipient phase of this winter storm. We've got a good day to go before we can at least confine it to the southeast Texas coastal plains and deal with that aspect. But again, if you're across the northern half, northern two-thirds of Texas, you're going to have at least slick roads, slick bridges, slick overpasses. Probably, I mean, most of us are going to have it late tonight, tomorrow. Some folks closer to the coast might not get that until tomorrow night or Friday morning, and then that'll continue through Friday, and in the hardest hit areas Saturday, before temperatures in the day jump above freezing. Overnight low temperatures will still be pretty chilly, but daytime temperatures will get above freezing. We'll get the melting process started. Then whatever is melted in terms of water will refreeze at night and create black ice on roads. That's going to be an issue through early next week probably. And then by next week, we'll get above average temperatures again, 60s, hopefully some 70s. We'll get rid of all the winter precip. And then we'll see what Mother Nature has to offer around February 10th and 14th, since there's a chance we might be heading back towards another fun Arctic cold front. But that's way down the road. That's not anything we have to worry about right now. So that is the latest with the Groundhog Day winter storm in Texas. Again, we'll be here all night into tomorrow. You can keep an eye on the sky with the interactive weather radar on our website at texasstormchasers.com and in the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. Expect road conditions in the DFW Metroplex to tank significantly by 9 to 10 p.m. Central Time. It's 7:40 now. We've been doing this about 40 minutes. Roads are going to go downhill quickly. Morning rush hour, we expect roads all the way down to Austin to the north side of San Antonio to be slick and hazardous. And then as we continue through tomorrow and temperatures continue cooling, we could see slick and hazardous roads develop in the Brazos Valley as well. So again, a widespread area of travel problems from our winter storm. So I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy and Chief David Reimer. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll probably do another one of these live updates by 10 p.m., although it won't be 40 minutes alone, I guarantee that. So you can keep watching our live radar stream on our website, texasstormchasers.com/radar, or in our free mobile app. Otherwise, we'll continue posting updates throughout the evening. Thanks for joining us.